For more than 20 years, .NET has been an absolute giant in the software world. But what are the pros actually using to build all the apps we rely on? Well, today, we're going to pop open that toolbox and take a look inside. So this is the big question for today. If you could be a fly on the wall looking over the shoulder of a really seasoned .NET developer, what would you see? What are those essential, can't live without them tools they use every single day? Let's find out. We're going to break this tour down into 5 key parts. First, we'll hit the developer's command center. Then we'll talk about managing project dependencies, all the bits and pieces you pull into your app. After that, we'll get into ensuring code quality, and then testing and performance tuning. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with your essential .NET toolkit. Okay, let's jump right into the first section. Every single developer needs a home base, a command center where all the magic happens, the coding, the debugging, all of it. And in our world, that's called an IDE, an integrated development environment. The best way to think of it is like the developer's own digital workshop. So right off the bat, we've got the 2 heavy hitters from Microsoft itself, and they are built for very different jobs. On the left, you've got Visual Studio. This is the big one, the all-in-one powerhouse. If you're building a massive, complex enterprise app, this is what you're using. But on the right, you have Visual Studio Code. It's the speedy, lightweight, super flexible sibling. It's awesome for web development, whipping up a quick script, or any project where you just want to move fast. It's less of a giant workshop and more of a precision multi-tool. But hey, it's not just a 2-horse race. JetBrains Rider has become a huge contender, especially for developers who work across different operating systems like Windows, macOS, and Linux. Its biggest draw is that it's truly cross-platform. It's also famous for its incredibly smart code analysis and just how snappy it feels. It's often faster than the full Visual Studio. So what are the trade-offs? Well, it's a paid tool, and its hookup with Microsoft's cloud, Azure, isn't quite as seamless. Okay, on to our next section. Let's be real. Modern software is almost never built completely from scratch. Developers lean on this huge ecosystem of pre-written code, we call them libraries, to do the heavy lifting. Managing all these external parts, the real nuts and bolts of your project, is a super critical job. So how in the world do you manage all those pieces without going crazy? You use a package manager. See, instead of you manually downloading files and trying to fit them into your project, a package manager does all of it for you. It's like having a project manager who just goes out, finds all the supplies you need, and brings them right to you. For .NET, the official package manager is called NuGet. And on the pros side, it's awesome. It's built right into Visual Studio and makes adding libraries super simple. But you got to watch out for the cons. You can get into these things called dependency conflicts. Imagine you need 2 packages, but they both rely on a different version of a third package. It creates a total clash. And of course, you have to remember that your app security is now tied to the security of every single one of those third-party packages you pull in. Now, NuGet handles the packages inside your project. But what about all the tools on your computer itself? Well, that's where a tool like Chocolatey comes in. This is a package manager for Windows. With just one command, a developer can install their IDE, their database, literally their entire setup. It's an incredible time saver and makes sure everyone on a team is working with the exact same tools. All right, so we've got our workshop set up, we have our supply chain of parts managed. Now let's talk about the actual craftsmanship. This next batch of tools is all about making sure the code itself is clean, efficient, and easy to maintain down the road. These are your code inspectors. And a really key concept here is static analysis. I love this analogy. It's like a pre-flight check for your code. Before you ever try to run your program, before the plane even thinks about taking off, these tools scan every single line. They're on the lookout for potential bugs, security holes, and something developers call code smells. Little things that might not be a bug right now, but they hint at a bigger problem in the design. For a really, really deep dive, developers might use a tool like NDepend. This isn't for a quick look. This is like a full-on MRI for your entire code base. It's incredibly powerful for massive projects because it helps identify something called technical debt. Just think of technical debt as taking a shortcut when you build something. It works for now, but you know you've created a problem you'll have to fix later. NDepend finds all those weak spots. The only downside is that all that power comes with a pretty steep learning curve, and it can be pricey. So if NDepend is the specialist you call in for a deep diagnosis, ReSharper is the assistant who's sitting right on your shoulder while you code. It plugs right into Visual Studio and gives you feedback instantly. It also helps with something called refactoring, which is just a fancy word for cleaning up your code without changing what it does. For example, say you want to rename something that's used in 100 different places. Doing that by hand is a total nightmare. With ReSharper, it's literally one click. That's a huge productivity boost. Okay, but what if you need to understand code that you don't actually have the source for? It happens. That's where decompilers are amazing. They take the compiled code and basically reverse engineer it back into something a human can read. dotPeek is a fantastic free one from JetBrains. But if you need more power, Reflector is a paid tool that takes it to the next level, even letting you debug that decompiled code right inside Visual Studio. All right, we have built our application and we've checked its quality. Now it's time for the really crucial part, making sure it actually works like it's supposed to and that it's fast. Welcome to the quality control department. There are a ton of different ways to test, and a tool for each. At the base level, you have unit testing with tools like NUnit, where you're testing tiny individual pieces of your code. Then there are continuous testing tools like NCrunch, which feels like magic. It just runs all your tests in the background while you type. For apps that talk to other services over the internet, Postman is the absolute king for API testing. And for just quick and dirty experiments, LINQPad is like a developer's scratchpad for trying out little code snippets. So, making sure your code is correct is one thing, but making sure it's fast is a whole other challenge. That's where performance profiling comes in. A profiler basically watches your app while it's running and measures everything, how much memory it's using, where it's spending all its time. It's how you hunt down those hidden slowdowns. And just like with everything else, there are different profilers for different jobs. PerfView is the heavyweight champ. It gives you an incredible amount of detail, and it's what you pull out when you have a really nasty, complex performance bug. Stackify Prefix, on the other hand, is much lighter. It gives you real-time feedback while you're coding, so it's perfect for quickly optimizing things like web requests. Phew, okay, we have taken a whirlwind tour of the entire developer toolbox. So let's just take a step back and put everything we've seen into a nice, clear summary. So here's the big takeaway. A pro's toolkit isn't just a random pile of tools. It's organized by function. You have your main command center, your IDE. You have your package managers that handle the whole supply chain. You've got analysis tools that act as your code inspectors. Then you have testing frameworks for all your safety checks. And finally, you have your performance profilers, the tuning fork, to make sure everything is running in perfect harmony. So we've laid out the tools of the trade, from the big foundational IDE all the way to the super specialized profiler. Every single one of these plays a vital role. The only real question left is, with the toolbox this powerful, what are you going to build?